cold cut off the music. That's it. No more music for you guys. That's the way it is. And I'm not Walter Cronkite. But I'm here dancing with a dancing coffee cup. He's happy to be here. It is Wednesday. Whew, some people say hump day. I'm not going to say hump day. Knee day. I definitely need to go in and get a haircut. Out of control. Out of control. Oh, man, what's going on with you guys today? It's a crazy, crazy Wednesday here. Got microphones that have wandered off across the table. Get them back. Want to be able to make sure you guys can hear me. We got news today. We got news for you today. Oh, man. The news is always like this. Up and down. All around. Got craziness going on today. Craziness. Put together a logarithm to see if you're being Bitcoin mined. We'll talk about that. It's been a school district that got their cyber attack already. There's been warnings about this. Kids are going back to school online, attacking schools, right? There's more bugs in Microsoft Azure, but probably not in a platform you're using. I don't know. DarkSide. We talked about DarkSide Ransomware yesterday. New on the scene. Came out the 10th, not even a month old. Already talking about one of its first victims today. British Army, they're saying, maybe we don't need so many tanks. Maybe we need more cyber warriors. Or maybe they're even saying we don't need any tanks. We just need cyber warriors. We'll talk about that. What's your thought on that? And our own, the United States Cyber Command, our top cyber warrior and commander of Cyber-Recon, commander of NSA, director of NSA, I should say, not really commander of NSA. He's the Dernza, which if you haven't been around, first time I heard that, I was like, what the heck is the Dernza? But that's the director of the NSA, is also the commander of Cyber Command nowadays. He's got some words. He's got some fighting words for you out there. You're out there trying to impact our elections. He's got some fighting words. Paul's got some fighting words for you. So stay tuned. We got a lot to talk about. Last night, we went live. We put Mako on the spotlight. Put him in front of the camera. His real first live event for us. He runs his own channel as well, where he talks about Yu-Gi-Oh! And Beyblade and some other stuff that he's interested in on a side time. But this is what he's doing for a living, so we got him in front of the camera. We put him out here talking about processors, part of the IT Fundamentals Plus track. Just what is a processor? What's it all about? He talked about ARM processors. He talked about AMD processors. He talked about Intel processors. What has the most power? What costs the most money? What each kind of is used for. Good stuff, though. Good morning, Alex. Good to see you this morning. Always good to see you. Of course. And then tomorrow, of course, tomorrow is trivia night. Trivia night. And the problem is I haven't put my questions together. I got 10 questions I've got to put together. I've got the special topic this week, so Alex, you might be happy. I get the special topic, not Mako. So I probably won't sell you down the river. Mako's out to get you guys. He really is out to get you. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you as well. Some people I haven't seen in a bit. Not Alex. Alex, you're a true, tried and true every morning AM guy getting out here seeing us. Wow. So Illy coffee is tied up, wrapped up, lovingly vesseled it within this Cowboy Bebop cup. We did not talk about mainframe processors. Mainframes are dead, right, Alex? No use for mainframes anymore. That technology's gone. Never going to use it again. I say in jest. For those folks who don't know, who weren't around for the mainframes, the AS400s of yesteryear, cloud technology. When you look at cloud technology, pick up your computer history book, your introduction to computing in the Revolutionary War. You'll see mainframe technology and cloud computing. There's a ton of similarities. So if you don't know mainframe and you know cloud, you probably know a lot more about mainframe than you think you do. If you know mainframe and you think cloud is this new weird thing, you're going to find out those LPARs you used to talk about in the old days are virtualized systems today. That time slicing and charging used to do on the mainframe. We used to charge for time on the mainframe. In cloud computing, we're charging for time on the cloud computing platform. Woo, it's no different. The other thing we're going to find is mainframes are all over the place still. First company I went to work for when I got out of the Army had a Bull mainframe, about the size of a school bus. It was huge. There's only like 3 places in America that use Bull mainframes. And they went to renew it in 2000, back when I was with them. And they put the mainframe programmers and the mainframe admins in charge of selecting the next mainframe. And ZOS from IBM, the big IBM mainframe platform, was up. No, operating system was up for in the run against this Bull mainframe. Now again, these are people in our company that are trained on the Bull mainframe. That's what they know how to do, and they've got to pick a new operating system. And there's only about 3 places in America you can go to work on a Bull mainframe. When their selection process was done, they picked another Bull mainframe. Go figure. The system they knew, the system they were familiar with, the system they had a job to run, they picked another one of them. So I'm not going to tell you the company, but that's the way that works. That's the way a lot of the selection works. A lot of these bake-offs work. People pick the product they want, and then they do the bake-off. We got to avoid doing that, man. We got to pick the process we want. We got to pick the functionality we want, and then bake off the competition against that functionality, and pick the best in class. That's it. Yeah, Insomnia. Alex here a lot. Keep him up all the time, watching a crazy live cast all the time. Yeah, they're dead. Yeah, most companies. It's funny, about 5 years ago, or maybe even 10, a lot of companies started posting their web platforms on mainframes because people didn't know how to attack them anymore. It was very, very funny. I'm heading towards cloud computing, says Tully. We all are. We're all heading towards the cloud. We're all moving towards the cloud, whether we want to or not. It's the panacea. It's the thing that's going to save the world. The thing about cloud computing, and if you looked at it, years ago, the technologists said there's good in cloud computing. There's things we can do in cloud computing that's good. There's things like flexibility. We can spin systems up fast. There's resiliency. We have DR capabilities. There's a lot of capabilities in this cloud platform. And people are like, yeah, that's cool. It's another thing you technology guys are talking about. Good for you. Keep doing what you want. And then at some point, the business said, we don't have to do a cost expenditure this year to buy new servers if we put our stuff in the cloud. And we don't buy servers that we're not going to use. We're going to rent space in the cloud, and if we don't need it, we'll just shut it off. Well, this makes good business sense now because they can see the monetary gain, the business goal gain from going to the cloud. And that's, as technologists, I'm telling you, the thing we talk about a lot in the morning is how to keep your domain secure, right? And we have to fight for the IT domain. We have to fight for the security domain, because if we don't, it gets eroded and we start losing funding for tooling. We lose funding for people. So when we go to sell something, we go to sell something to business, and sometimes there are people in IT that are good at this. There are people that are in security that are good at this, but generally, people in IT and people in security do a very bad job of selling the product to the business side. And we have to think from the business standpoint, how do we push this thing forward? And this is one of the things they missed early on with cloud is we were trying to sell the technological advantages of moving to the cloud. It's resilient. We can back up faster. We can spin up environments faster. These things, the business was like, that's cool. But when we start talking about we can save money, we can increase the throughput during peak load times to improve our customer relations or our processing of files for our customers. We start telling about those things, then the business goes, wow, now I'm interested. I'm not interested in your techie stuff. They really don't care about techie stuff. The true business folks don't. They want it to work like a phone. They want to log into the computer and they want it to work and they want it to be secure, and that's all up to us to take care of. If it's not secure and it doesn't work, then they worry about us. Then they want to know what's going on. But if it all works, they don't care. They don't care. If it works right, it's working, it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's all good, man. It's all good. Morning, Paul. I think you've had a busy week this week already, and it's only partway through. We're only partway through the week, so hopefully you guys are having a good week. Man, the time is flying by. I'm trying to get that flying by. It's going quick. We've got so much stuff going on. Hard to just keep up. And today, Alex, I'm going to put either Mako or Emily taking my calendar and turning it into the correct production schedule, because we're only one video behind in the RMF series. We're one video behind, so that'll go out today. I've got the slides done. I've got it all done. And one thing I'm going to tell you, I'm looking at RMF 2.0 a little different than RMF does, than the NIST does. And just in their flow, they've got this flow where they've got step 0 or the prepare step in the middle. I don't know that I agree with that. I'm up in arms, up in questioning whether I like that. I've got my own theory of how this should look. So that'll be in my, I think, the next video that's going out, 104. I have a calendar. I do have a digital calendar and a paper, good old-fashioned, old-school paper desk calendar that I write on all the time. It's almost like having a cool butcher board paper. Fan of the butcher board back in the old days in the Army, doing your task, condition, and standards, getting things done. So let's get on to talk about the news this morning. Let's get Alex off the screen. I think we got to. We'll leave the little Cyber-Recon logo there. We're gonna leave that up there. It's gonna show up right in the coffee. We know it is, and I'm good with rolling with it. So let's get the coffee intro going, and we'll be back with the news. Told you it was gonna stay there. Told you that. Some days. The RMF Advanced course. The RMF Advanced course. You and I talked about this course, and you had also offered some assistance. So if you're going to help me a bit with the RMF Advanced course, Alex, I will buy off on the 15th of October. We'll start the RMF Advanced course. If you buy off on that, if I get your help, you buy off on that. The RMF Advanced course, for those guys who don't know, the RMF, the basic intros to the RMF is really, it's not too hard. It makes a lot of sense. There's common sense in the RMF from top to bottom. It makes perfect sense, and especially if you've done anything with the SDLC, you go, okay, yeah, this aligns and ties in so nicely. It just nestles in neatly with the SDLC. The SDLC has a gate to do something. We've got tasks and steps that align with that and make it work so that as you're developing a system, as you're a PM developing a system, the security tasks just line right with it. Like in the beginning, we ask the system owner, hey, what's your simple questions? What is your system going to do? And what kind of information are you going to process? And that's the two critical pieces of information we need as security and risk and cyber people. We can say, okay, based on that, we can give you a set of controls right at the kickoff meeting. We can walk into the kickoff meeting and say, project manager, system owner, here are the controls you need to implement in your system when you build it. So as you're designing this thing on paper, you'll know exactly what controls you have. As you're going to buy technology, you can say, does this technology support AES 256 encryption? Because my control says I have to have it. And I can buy that piece of equipment, or I can buy that professional service, or I can buy that piece of software that has the correct stuff. But if we don't do it with the RMF, we don't have this thing that so neatly ties in with the SDLC, We get to the end, and they go to put the system on the network, and we go, hey, where's your AES 256 encryption? And they go, oh, we didn't know that was a requirement, and none of our system supports that. And then you go, well, the AO is not going to sign off on this because you don't meet the basic encryption requirements. So that's why the RMF is. That's why I love the RMF. You guys, a lot of people hate it, especially folks that that work in technology more and see the RMF as an administrative hurdle, paperwork. We've got a group building then. Got John Dyson. We're gonna for those that not work in it every day any longer. Yeah, we're gonna dig into this thing. Okay, it looks like Alex has thrown down the gauntlet for 15 October. Those work with it. We're getting going, converging what is not in the textbooks. Yeah, even the one the first one had a long tail to get the first RMF book out. The second book was honestly rushed because the schools wanted to use the new version of the RMF, so it was rushed. So we're redoing that one and actually having a PhD in English look at all the text, all the words, all the grammar to make sure they're correct. So that's awesome work we're going to have. Going into that, it's going to be technically strong and grammatically correct. RMF, including popular products used to address certain controls within those 3 initial baselines. Yeah, I'm going to fence it there, Alex. I'm going to say we're going to fence it at the low, moderate, and high baselines because we look at all 1,000 controls, and that's overstretch. It's really not 1,000 controls, but when you look at the controls and the enhancements, all the different subsets, there's well over 1,000 things we have to do. It's a misnomer to say there's over 1,000 controls. Stephen will help with understanding the FedRAMP process. Awesome. We're building the dream team here, guys. Dream team, and I'll play my part. You guys will be the dream team, and I'll be maybe the guy with the marker, something like that. Sounds like a deal. So yeah, we'll throw that on the calendar. After this, I'll go to my paper calendar, Alex. I'll flip it over 2 months to October 15th, and I'll put on the 15th. Actually, let's look at the Monday around the 15th. Let's grab the calendar, the electronic calendar here. August, September, October, the 15th on a Thursday. How about I restate my statement and we say the 19th. Let's start it on the 19th. Advanced RMF 2.0, level 102 or 202 or 402, whatever we want to call this thing, 19 October. So we'll talk about FedRAMP. We'll talk about implementing controls. We'll talk about assessing controls. We'll talk about getting deep in the weeds of the RMF, way beyond the cap. The regular RMF class will get you ready for the cap. This is getting you ready to be the RMF ninja at your organization. So it's on, Alex. It's on like we say when I was a kid. It's on like Donkey Kong. So that's all that and news. So let's look at news. Bitcoin. If you guys know, Bitcoin is just it's one of those things that we all say, man, if I'd have just been smarter, I'd bought Bitcoin when it was like 3 cents a piece. So there you go. October 19th, RMF advanced course for practitioners. And if we get crazy, Alex, if we go over the edge, we can schedule this thing to finish before the end of the year. And I say as the capstone event, I'm taking that limb and I'm crawling out to the very edge of it, where it's just barely, and I'm a big guy to be on that edge of that limb. But I'm going to say we cap this thing off with a capstone exercise, like on a Saturday or a Sunday, or even a Saturday and a Sunday at the end of this thing. And we do that, it's not a lab, what were we calling it, Alex? We all get together and we work through a process. Oh, I've lost my mental capability to think. Hold on, Illy coffee saved me. which is a capstone event. We're going to walk through a lab and just take a process from the very beginning to the very end. And if somebody has a system that they can use that's not sensitive or classified that we can walk through in a classroom, we'll do the RMF for it over the weekend. Demo capstone, yeah. CSET, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And yeah, CSET demo capstone, we'll walk through the entire process from the very beginning, step P1, all the way to the very end, where we talk about M6 or M7, depending on, we probably won't build their whole system and then obviously decommission it. But we'll get it all set up and running. How do we set up? How do we implement controls? How do we assess those controls? Who gets the ability to determine the method of assessment? That's always a question. I've had many arguments over who determines which method of assessment we're going to use. And I'm going to give you a hint. It's the SCA. That's the senior SCA. That's who it is. So this thing right here, Bitcoin. I would love to find a nonprofit. And we could even have a closed session. So I do have, and WebEx is good and the bad of WebEx are that we can't have secure conferences. So we can set up a secure conference. We'll get, if we can find an NDA, we can, I'm willing to sign an NDA with a nonprofit or a not-for-profit that needs their system secured. Paul, you might know some folks out there that need, a nonprofit that needs their system looked at top to bottom. We can set up some NDAs with the people that are going to be in the lab, walk through the posture from beginning to very end and give them the whole package when we're done. I think that's a great idea. That whole capstone, that just sitting through it. Yeah, academic records. We need to be able to find somebody that's going to be good with us doing it, and everybody's going to be part of the process is going to have to, I'm sure, sign an NDA so that we don't let any secrets go. So we're going to have to set up. We'll break into teams. We'll have to have one team, because we've got a point, we got to do some independent assessments. We're going to have those assessors. They're going to look at it. We can run some tools. I know we can get Nessus. I've worked with those guys before. They love education folks. So yep, it looks like we've got a good framework. Alex, we'll get some meetings set up. We'll start working with the core team. We'll try to pick our nonprofit. Maybe we can pick more than one. If we have an A and a B, we can have that red blue. I had red blue last night, man. We can have one team working one nonprofit and one team working another nonprofit. When we get to the assessment, we can have the team switch. The assessor working on project B can assess project A and vice versa. We got it's developing. It's coming together like you wouldn't believe. Paul is saying Security Plus. Yes, Security Plus is still going on. Actually, we're working on SIEM, or the Security Incident and Event Management tools yesterday. You're going to love this. I was going to reach out to some of you guys last night. Instead of just talking through these tools, that's what we've done. Man, we're not talking about the news just yet. We're talking about other stuff. Paul, great point on the Security Plus. We've done the first two modules. We're deep into module 2 of the Security Plus exam. And a lot of the stuff in Security Plus, and the first one is just talking about, what's a virus, what's the CIA triad, that kind of stuff, is in step 1. That's in the first domain. Started getting into domain 2 and started looking at things like firewalls and SIEM tools and IDSs and IPSs. There's a part of this you got to know. You got to know what a SIEM tool is. Security Incident and Event Management, or Security Information and Event Management, depending on what school you went to. SIEM tools are great. They aggregate the information. They display it in a format that you can see. It's for the people that work in the Security Operations Center. You can take the feed from all these different systems and bring it together and watch it. And that's what a SIEM tool is. And that's what you need to know for kind of the Security Plus. That's kind of a high level. There's a couple of other little nuances you need to know, but generally for the Security Plus, that's what you need to know about the SIEM tool, what they do, how they work, that kind of stuff. Wouldn't it be nicer, and this is what we kind of slowed down on, we talked about the SIEM tool, and kind of like we just talked about with the RMF. Here's the SIEM tool. Here's what you need to know. Baseline stuff for the security exam, security plus exam, which is good. You need to know that. Pass the exam, be good to go. But what if you had another module that sat on top of that, where we took something, and I already did the research on this. Splunk has a home version. You can download it, you can run it. You can run it as a container and something like Docker, or you can run it as a full-on old system like this. It's not really an old system, but I've got a Dell older desktop over here, like 3.1 gigahertz, 500 gigs. You know, that kind of, it's like a $150 box you can get from Amazon. What if we talked about SIEM, basics of it, and then we installed the SIEM tool, in this case, Splunk. And we installed it, and we went through the process of configuring it, installing it, getting it set up for a basic user. That way, not only do you know what SIEM is, but you actually have some hands-on with it. And then we move on to IDS, IPS, and do the same exact thing. So we have a module that talks about all you need to know to get through the exam, if that's what you're trying to do, is just get through the exam. But there's another module that shows you actually how to do the thing that you're talking about. It's been bugging me that we kind of, in our lockstep, if we've been walking through the Security Plus, we have really been doing what most people do. We talk about the Security Plus, getting people ready to pass the exam, and I hate that thought. I hate the thought of just getting somebody ready to pass the exam. I want them to get ready to pass the exam, and then when they go to the first interview, their hiring manager asks them that question about, tell me about a SIEM tool, or a SIM tool, how we want to call it. Tell me about a SIEM tool, and they say, not only did I know about it, but at my house, I've got Splunk running, and I've got forwarding rules, and I've got all of these reports coming out, and I've set up the home version, which I can do for free, and I bought a box from Amazon for $200, and here's how I set it up. I guarantee that hiring manager will look at you totally different than the guy that says, hey, a SIEM tool takes and aggregates information and displays it in a format that is available to allow the SOC operator to be able to detect an attack on the system. It's obviously stretches things out, makes things a little bit longer, but man, and there's so many companies that want you to learn their technology. Splunk wants you to learn Splunk, because when you go to work for somebody and you pick a product, you're going to pick Splunk because you know it. It's just like the bull mainframe story. It is crazy. So we got a bunch of talk that I put up on the thing. Do a core team on this, easy. Just need a roadmap, plan, schedule. October 9th is the kickoff day, so we have to all build to that. SIEM is sorely misunderstood by people. Yeah. And until you watch that glass, until you're a glass watcher, where you just have to sit there and watch and wait for something to happen, and then something happens and you have to scramble to react to it, you don't know. You don't know. That 10-hour overnight shift when you're trying to stay awake, that is at the middle of it is interrupted by somebody trying to breach the firewall. Yeah, that's the stuff you need to know. Paul, the guy that started this, love a great sound. Practical application is very useful. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, so if someone can talk about what a SIEM is versus having run the tool, they will fail every, yeah. The guy just talking about it. And I think me as a hiring manager, I've done my share of hiring. There's one thing if I know SIEM from my last job. That's cool. That gives me good understanding that you know how to do it because you've done it in an enterprise. But I look at somebody that has taken the step to install it in their home network and does it because they really want to learn it. That's a little different. Now, obviously, if the guy that's done it in the enterprise also has it running in their house and has that whole story, that's a different story. But if somebody comes to me and says, this is my first job, I really don't have the experience, but I've got all this stuff running in my house because I want to know how it works. That's a guy that gets a totally different look in my mind, in my opinion. Got some sun shining in right there, guys. That's what's happening right there. So that's my thoughts. I don't know, we're way off. We're already top of the hour, and we haven't even got to the first doggone story about Bitcoin. Man, but it's a great conversation. This is what it's all about. This is about what I call taking care of your friends, your family, your coworkers, and your organization. Y'all are family. This is the Cyber Cyber-Recon family. We get together in the morning, we take care of each other. I think this is going the right direction. I think things are moving. When you build something like this, and we've been fighting to build it, we've been scrapping every day. Emily and Em and Mako and Jimmy and I have just been trying to get the right format, trying to figure out how to best present the information that we know that we can have to everyone. And as you know, Mako and Emily and Jimmy are new to the field. They're new to it, and that gives them a different perspective than I have, because I've been around this thing since it was InfoSec, since it, 30 years ago when I was at ISO for the Army, and we were just the only task we had was really making sure that the software was generally licensed correctly, and that all the bad stuff was gone before the IG came around. That was my two main roles as ISO back in the Army back in the day. Things have changed dramatically. Now we need to know stuff about Bitcoin mining. So the one thing I was going to do, that's Bitcoin cost, or the rate. So Bitcoin today is worth $11,380. Let's go back. We go back to November 20th, 2015, $327. And that's like the first part. They're tracking this thing. I remember Bitcoin being under $1. I remember early on being under $1. Spikes, it looks like there's been some pretty decent spikes, $19,000. Now it's a single Bitcoin is worth $11,380. So you can understand Bitcoin mining can be lucrative. And there's a lot of people early on that set up rigs to do Bitcoin mining. And it's intensive on the CPU. It's intensive on the system. It burns a lot of power because running the CPU at high, because you're creating a cryptocurrency. You're using encryption to create money. And we're not going to go into how cryptocurrency works because that's way too long for this morning. But so we're creating cryptocurrency, and we need generally a vast array of computers. We need them all working at full power. And it's going to create this cryptocurrency that's being used, a single Bitcoin that's worth over 11 grand. So people that did it the right way, a lot of them went out to Amazon and they bought a bunch of Amazon space. They bought a bunch of virtual machines in Amazon, and they create Bitcoin out there. It's a little cheaper. Or they created a bunch of, I used to have my Raspberry Pi here. I've seen people build Raspberry Pi grids that are doing Bitcoin mining, or a bunch of old computers or old stuff. The point is, you can do it legally, but it's going to cost you money because you have to have the hardware, whether that's virtual or not. And then you've got to have the power to run it, and then run the software to create the Bitcoin. And nowadays, Bitcoin and other types of cryptocurrency as well. Well, the bad guy, the guy that always wants to break into your computer and do nefarious things, is always looking for a way to do things that don't cost them money, that they want to hijack other people's systems to take their files, to ransom their, lock up their files, ransom them off to get them back, or to use your processing power to do their crypto mining. So they can create a botnet, and a lot of them do. They'll create a botnet of machines that do crypto mining. So they will get the benefit of creating this cryptocurrency. You'll pay the bill for the computer. You'll pay the bill for the power. A lot of people, there's a thing in cloud computing called virtualization sprawl. That's where we think something's going to be a great idea, and we stand up 50 servers, and this great thing just doesn't work. So we scrap the plan, but we forget to take down those 50 servers because they're not physical boxes. We don't see them. They're living out in AWS somewhere, but they're still there. And somebody can hijack them and start Bitcoin mining. Or, it may just be happening on your normal network. You just don't know what's going on. So this article is from our friends at HelpNet Security. They've been around a couple times. Computer scientists have developed a new artificial intelligence, or AI, system that may be able to identify malicious codes that hijack supercomputers to mine for cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin and Monero. Oh man, I'm gonna mess this guy's up. Geopath Giopani from Los Alamos National Laboratory, great place. Big brains work out there. Says that based on a recent computer break-ins in Europe and elsewhere, this type of software watchdog will soon be critical to prevent cryptocurrency miners from hacking into high-performance computer facilities and stealing their precious computer resources. He co-authored a paper in the IEEE journal IEEE Access. Legitimate, so the article goes on to say, legitimate cryptocurrency miners often assemble enormous computer arrays dedicated to digging up the digital cash. Less savory miners have found they can strike it rich by hijacking supercomputers, provided they can keep their efforts hidden. Of course, that's what they want to do. All programs can be represented by a graph that consists of nodes linked by lines, loops, or jumps. Definitely a programmer talking here. Much as human criminals can be caught by comparing the whorls or arcs of their fingerprints to recorded fingerprint databases. The new AI system compares the contours of a program's flow control graph to a catalog of graphs for programs that are allocated and allowed to run on a given computer. So it's really looking at it looks at the processes they're running, how they run, how they flow, and if they match another signature, they say, hey, this is probably Bitcoin mining. This is probably cryptocurrency mining. This doesn't really belong on our network. It doesn't belong on our system. How reliable is it? The researchers tested their systems by comparing it to known benign code to an abusive Bitcoin mining code, and they found their system identified the illicit mining operation much quicker and more reliably than conventional non-AI analysis. No facts there. They don't say how much faster it worked. That's missing from this article. Because the approach relies on graph comparisons, it cannot be fooled by common techniques that illicit crypto miners use to disguise their code, such as including obfuscation variables and comments intended to make the code look like legitimate programming. So it's not really looking at the code, it's looking at how the code runs. Based on recent computer break-ins, such software watchdogs will soon be critical to prevent cryptocurrency miners from hijacking into high-performance computing facilities and stealing their precious computing resources. Interesting. So we can fingerprint a computer process running, a program running, based on how it functions, what it looks like. It's kind of like an advanced indicator of compromise. Kind of cool, guys. On the other side of not being kind of cool, these guys out here in the Rialto school district have been hacked, right? Oh, man. Cybersecurity shut down virtual classes in Los Angeles School District 2 weeks after the FBI issued a cybersecurity warning to schools offering online learning. FBI Supervisory Special Agent Corey Harris, or if you've been around the FBI, you know this, they call those guys SSAs. SSA Harris, in a grim foreshadowing of what was to come, said on August 11, we want all school districts to be prepared and understand there's a possibility that they could be attacked. And with so many kids conducting school virtually, that increases the risk, that opens the door for an attacker to actually compromise either the school district's networks or the kids' computers. The online classes at the LA School District were compromised Monday following a malware attack. And they don't say what the attack was, how it got in, anything like that. A statement posted on the district website said that learning hosted by its Bridge Academy had been halted indefinitely while investigations underway to determine the nature and scope of the cyber attack. We understand that this news is difficult in an already changing times. We appreciate your patience as we work to address the issue. District spokesperson Siedra Jaffrey said that information technology department staff were working day and night, and I bet they are working day and night, to give students access back to the education system, urging students who have been assigned devices linked to the district servers, not to use them until the current situation has been resolved. The computer equipment issued to students by the school will be collected and checked to make sure it's secure. Man, that is going to be a task there, because this school district includes 3 high schools, an alternative or adult education school, 5 middle schools, 19 elementary schools, and more than 25,000 students in those counties. Wow. Can you imagine going out? Not only if you had 25, and we're going to say, I'm going to make an assumption because the article doesn't say this, but say all students get, let's say not even let's take 5,000 out for the kids in the lower grades. Say 20,000 students have computers. Now we've got to go out and figure out how to get all those computers back in, get them cleaned up, get the system cleaned up, and get everybody back online. What a it's not like they're on a campus. They're going to be all over the place. There's going to be collection sites, or they're going to be driving around, or there's going to be something to get all these machines back. Get them cleaned up. I'm not sure if they don't want them connected to the network, cleaning them up remotely is going to be hard. I don't even know if they have the capability, their ability to have a segment of your network scaled off to be able to handle reconfiguration of systems. I don't know if they're set up to do that. Matt, good morning. Good to see you again. Lisa, right? Lisi? Am I saying that right? Hopefully I'm saying that right. Good morning. So yeah, that's what's going on. We know that this stuff's going on. We don't know who did this attack, how it happened. But yeah, it just knocked. And that's just one indicator. This is one system that's been knocked offline by this malware attack. And that indefinitely, these students are now in an indefinite pause to get their schoolwork going again. So in an already trying year, this is adding to it. Wow. So I feel bad for these guys. I'll keep you up to date on what's going on with these guys, because it looks like they've got a rough road ahead. Hopefully, I don't know how much they can publish after the fact. It'd be nice to see some details of what happened, how it happened, and how they cleaned it up. That would be nice to prepare everybody for dealing with this stuff in the future. Azure Sphere. This is an information, an IoT platform, Internet of Things platform that is used. I'm getting dings in the morning, and they're not coming up here. Oh well. Is used to secure. This is their secure platform for Internet of Things. The Azure Sphere portal is the secure platform for Internet of Things. And there's 4 bugs patched in this platform. So I'm not going to dwell too long on this because they've already been patched, right? So Telos Labs, Cisco Telos Labs, have found details tied to a pair of remote code execution bugs in Microsoft's IoT security platform called Azure Sphere. They were released Monday. 2 additional privilege escalation flaws impacting the same cloud performance system platform. They piggyback on 6 vulnerabilities found in July. Cisco Telos worked with Microsoft to ensure that these issues were resolved and that an update is available on affected customers. However, Microsoft declined to issue any CVEs, according to the research brief published Monday. Wow. Azure Sphere, which debuted at RSA Conference 2018, is Redmond's IoT security solution designed to secure microcontroller units, MCU devices typically found within IoT networks. The platform leverages MCUs with built-in security technology, leveraging security surface-based authentication to protect against threats. I'm really going to, the big point is there was 4 more vulnerabilities found in this Azure platform, Sphere. If you're using it, I'm going to assume there's not a lot of people using it in the morning crowd, but maybe there are people out there that have stuff in this IoT environment. Just make sure you're patched. That's the big thing, because these are fair, remote code execution, and 2 additional privilege escalation flaws. The patch is out there. It's ready to be done. Hopefully, because it's cloud, it's already taken care of. You don't have to worry about it. But if you're using Azure Sphere, make sure that you are well taken care of. That's all we're not gonna spend a ton of time there, because we want to talk about the dark side. Just yesterday, I think it was just yesterday, we were talking about this new ransomware, the dark side. This is the one that has the code of ethics, right? This is the system with the code of ethics that will not attack, educational systems, healthcare, the government, nonprofits, that kind of stuff. They said they're staying away from that. And this is a human-operated ransomware platform. So it's you got to hack into the system, and then you manually run the ransomware. It's not an automated system. It's not a worm. It's not anything like that. It's a more manual process, but it's these guys are only going after specific high-value targets, right? So in this case, the North American land developer and home builder, Brookfield Residential, is one of the first to fall victims to the new DarkSide ransomware. It's from Bleeping Computer. Brookfield Residential is a U.S. and Canada planned community and single-family home builder with $5.7 billion in assets. Now, Brookfield Residential is owned by Brookfield Asset Management, which is a Canadian asset management company, and they're worth over $500 billion, where they've got $500 billion worth of assets under their control, I should say. $500 billion of assets under their control. Crazy. I think, just based on how this went down, I think the folks from DarkSide thought that Brookfield Residential was Brookfield Asset Management. Not that 5.7 billion is a small amount of money, but 500 billion is a whole lot more. So it looks, even on their post, they post on the DarkSide, because they've already released the data. The ransom is not going to be paid because the folks from DarkSide have already released the data. The time has already elapsed. Brookfield did not pay the money. The data has been leaked, but they tie it to brookfield.com. The folks from DarkSide. So on the leak of data, we downloaded a lot of interesting information, data from your network, including corporate HR, finance, human resources, payroll, administration, business plans, commercial, and many others. And they provided proof, but they tied it to brookfield.com, which is Brookfield Asset Management, not what is it? Brookfield Home, what are the Brookfield, whatever they're, Brookfield Residential Services. It's not, they're two different entities. They're two different, totally separated networks. Like other human-operated ransomware, DarkSide will breach a network, spread laterally between devices while stealing unencrypted data. And then once they steal unencrypted data, they obviously lock everything down. Once they gain access to a Windows domain controllers, the threat actors deploy ransomware throughout the network, locking all the data up. Brookfield Residential said, that's cool, we got backups. We'll just restore. We're not paying you the money. They notified all the people that were involved in the breach, and they moved on. So they state, we recently identified a data security incident which involved unauthorized access to a limited subset of files. We immediately alerted the appropriate authorities, restored effective systems, and implemented additional security measures, said the Brookfield Residential folks told Bleeping Computer. Bleeping Computer was further told that Brookfield Residential is an independently owned company with an isolated network from Brookfield Asset Management, and they were unaffected. While it's unknown how much the DarkSide was demanding for ransom, previous victims whose data was stolen had ransom demands of $2 million. So as the stolen data for Brookfield Residential has been released to the DarkSide's leak site, it's highly unlikely that the ransom was paid. So yet again, we just talked about these guys. These guys just came on the scene on the 10th of August. They're already hitting folks pretty hard. So know they're out there. Know the ransomware's out there. We know the number 1 and number 2 and number 3 ways they're getting in. We got RDP to worry about. We got VPN to worry about. We got training our users not to click on phishing links. Those are the 3 things we need to worry about the most. Build into our strategy to protect against these ransomware attacks. That's not going to make you bulletproof, but that's definitely going to increase your survivability odds. That's going to increase the odds that you get looked over and they just go for the easier target unless they're really, really going for you. Great Britain is in the news. They're saying, this is an article from, we see these guys every once in a while, The Register. Love that they have a vulture on their logo. British Army is looking at ditching tank regiments and spending money on keyboard warriors instead, according to the report. They're proposing to get rid of 200 odd Challenger 2 main battle tanks and putting that money into cyber warriors. The changing character, they state today, the Times reported, the changing character of warfare demands more investment in cyber capabilities, in the cyber capability space and other cutting-edge technologies. The Ministry of Defense recently raised a dedicated Security Operations Center regiment, and the previous Chief of Staff, called for fat and wheezy techies to join up as cyber squaddies. I don't know if that's the best marketing promo or I've ever heard. I'm looking for fat and wheezy techs to join up for the cyber squad. Currently, the Army is thinking that digital, cyber, and autonomous capabilities will be more valuable in the future than battalions of riflemen, or regiments of heavily armored vehicles. They're not alone. Earlier, the Royal Navy issued a tender for robot submarines capable of withstanding depth charges. So taking money out of traditional forces and putting it into cyber forces. Definitely a lot to unpack here. Rob Pritchard, a cybersecurity expert consulting firm, of the cybersecurity expert consulting firm, doesn't say what the consulting firm's name is. So Rob Pritchard of the cybersecurity expert consulting firm, unless that's the name of the company, that's a weird name for a company. An associate fellow at the Royal United Services Institute think tank opined this pervasive idea that investing in vague cyber capabilities can somehow replace actual defense spending on things that are useful for defense has gone on way too long. When Putin sends tanks rolling across Eastern European border, I'll be interested in how much effect the 101st Hacking Division has against heavy artillery. I don't know, the guy's a cybersecurity expert. There's definitely a combined arms force that has to be thought of. And this goes back to when tanks came about, World War I and World War II, when we started motorizing and mechanizing forces. I'm sure at the time they thought, well, the tank will replace the infantryman. That's no more the case than cyber is going to replace the infantryman. There has to be a combined arms force that is put into place, and cyber needs to be part of that. To Rob Pritchard's statement, this tanks rolling across Eastern Europe, if these cyber warriors can shut down the computer system that runs the tanks or manages their navigation system or manages the way that they see Blue Force and Red Force, I would like to see that. There's the ability to have a integrated combined arms forces, and cyber needs to be part of that, just like artillery does, and tank does, and infantry does, and signal does, and supply, and quartermaster, all the other pieces of the military that make up the combined forces. You can't say it's more or less important until it's put into the frame of whatever that conflict is. Matt's got some comments, of course. I'd love to see him, Matt. Still don't figure out the Bradley issue. I'm not sure what Bradley issue. You have to enlighten me. Tanks are only effective with good timing recon. Yeah, tanks are a big old target. Rolling. Only effective with good timing rolling. Tanks are every piece. You know, we think about the combined arms forces. Every piece is locked in for the joint battle space. Artillery has its place. You'd be hard pressed to fight and win a war today without artillery, or tanks, or infantry, or cavalry. All the pieces work together, and in a bigger sense, you'd be hard pressed without having a navy and an air force and an army that worked closely together. And that includes obviously Space Force and the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps is obviously part of that. It's got to work together. So this idea of totally getting rid of tanks and totally replacing them with cyber warriors is okay as long as there's other tank units out there. Maybe those 200 tanks are not needed in the grand scheme of the battle plan. Yeah, tanks have to. I remember reading a story in Desert Storm of the tanks moving so fast. Actually, it was either Desert Storm or Iraqi Freedom. The tanks moving so fast, it must have been at Iraqi Freedom. Tank squadrons or tank battalions were moving so fast that they would outrun the communication lines. And they use the Blue Force tracker. They would get so far ahead of the communication lines that the Blue Force tracker would stop working in that case. So the system would go down. The tank could still fight. The traditional tank still worked as normal. Just this piece of advanced hardware didn't work. The cyber capabilities didn't work because they went too fast. They got too far ahead of the lines. Let's see. Bradley hasn't had a replacement yet. Stuck with only 2 missiles. Needs a better main gun to hit tanks with. Yeah, it was. You need to watch Pentagon Wars. If you haven't watched Pentagon Wars with Fraser Crane, what's Kelsey Grammer? Is that his name? Great movie on the Bradley. Bradley's supposed to be a small little infantry scout vehicle, little tiny armored vehicle to get folks into and out of conflict. So drive the infantry forward, let them all out, and provide support. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, supposed to be forward scouts for tanks. It was much smaller vehicle, and it's just Pentagon Wars is the movie you got to watch because that lays the whole thing out. It's a bit of comedy around it, but there's so much truth in the whole movie that how the Bradley got to be the Bradley, totally different than the initial concept vehicle, just based on generals wanting different things. And talk about the chain gun. Yeah, they got to have a chain gun. Now the chain gun there, now it looks like a tank, so we have to have a defense against the tank. So now we'll put tow missiles on it. That's why you get your 2 tow missiles on there, because now it looks like a tank, so tanks will fire at it. And again, we're getting drifting off target. But you're right. Yeah, the Bradley's definitely should check out Pentagon Wars. Great movie. Britain is not alone in thinking cyber weaponry is becoming important or more important. Last year, the French Defense Minister Florence Parly declared cyber war has begun, saying the Fifth Republic would attack its foes using cyber techniques as well as traditional methods of warfare. So yeah, Brits are fighting, determining how this cyber is going to fit into their space. It's not going to replace anything. I don't think cyber replaces anything. It enhances a whole lot of stuff. And if you don't have it, you're going to be in trouble. I remember a quote from an Air Force general that said, when we attacked Iraq, he wanted the defenders to think that there were 100 Maytag washing machines coming at him, just overwhelming their capability. Yeah, Striker has, bolt anything to the top of the Striker. It's definitely a lot to unpack there around that. Oh my, do I not have? Oh, I don't have. Why did I not put my? I have to manually do something here really quick, guys. Let me take this off. And our last news story. Oh, that's why it's not. It doesn't like the SVG file. Sorry. That's why it didn't show up there. Last story is around Cyber Command, and we're not going to have our little logo up there. Sorry, guys. National Security Director and U.S. Cyber Commander Paul Nasconi, hope I'm saying that right, the Dernza, is being a little more offensive. He's talking about defending forward, and that sounds like a politically correct statement of offensive strategy. But you never know. He described the more offensive strategy of Cyber Command in an op-ed for Foreign Affairs, co-written by his senior advisor Michael Sulmeyer, pointing to efforts to counter foreign targeting of elections, COVID-19 research, and the online fight against ISIS. Nasconi described a new approach as defending forward, or going toe-to-toe with adversaries seeking to do harm to the United States in cyberspace. He says Cyber Command implements this defend forward strategy through the doctrine of persistent engagement. That's an interesting doctrine. The idea behind persistent engagement is that so much of the corrosive effects of cyber attacks against the United States occurred below the threshold of traditional armed conflict, yet much of Cyber Command's combat power has been devoted towards preparation for future contingencies. We realize that Cyber Command needs to do more to prepare for a crisis of the future. It must compete with adversaries today. Talks about the mission in Montenegro with Russian hacking. Big focus on the elections, right? Nasconi highlighted efforts by the Cyber Command and other federal agencies, including the FBI and Department of Homeland Security, to secure the U.S. elections, writing that a concerted effort to undermine the midterm elections was successfully disrupted in 2018 due to the partnership. Together with its partners, Cyber Command is doing all of this and more for the 2020 elections. He testified before a House committee earlier this year that election security was his top priority, noting that while malicious actors are trying to test our defenses and our resolve, we are ready for them and others who try to interfere with our democratic process. More recently, the top official of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence warned that Russia, Iran, and China were actively trying to interfere with U.S. elections this year, with Russia's interference aimed at President Trump being reelected, and China favoring the former Vice President Biden. So a lot of stuff is this. I wish I had this picture up here. So Paul, he's like, we're not going to do it anymore. I like the term. We're defending forward. That's very political. That's a very political statement. My last unit in the Army Reserve, as I finished out my career in the Army Reserve, right? Started active Army, I finished out in the Army Reserve. My last unit got rebranded. For a long time, it was a computer network attack company. That's what we were called. Very small group, but it was still a company. We were treated as a company-sized element. So we were a computer network attack company. And kind of like this, defending forward, the name was changed to Dynamic Defense. Mission didn't change, nothing changed, but now it's Dynamic Defense. So defend forward, another term. I'd like to see what that really means as we move forward. But Cyber Command, we're going to defend forward, protecting the nation from cyber attacks. Looks like their big focus is the elections, obviously, and that was a question we had yesterday. What are we doing about the elections? And COVID-19 research, and obviously ISIS. That's the big three things. My buddy Paul, is going after. My time when I supported the NSA was under General Alexander, who was the Dernza at the time, and I think the first commander of Cybercom when it was stood up. Great group of people out there doing great things for us here. So that wraps up our news. I know we spent a lot more time than we normally do covering the news. What you know is Women's Equality Day. Dropped a link in the show notes. It's going to take you to I can find my thing. This is the National Women's History Alliance. They have a page on Women's Equality Day resources. You can go check out what's going on, including the proclamation for Women's Equality Day. And it goes back to giving women the right to vote, and that's what we really this tied back to. There's a brochure you can get out there. There's great how women won the vote. There's a bunch of information on that. It's a good site to go out to. Check out Women's Equality Day. The other site talks about it's observed on August 26th. Women's Equality Day documents or commemorates the 19th Amendment to the Constitution granting women the right to vote. After 1971, after much work, the urging of U.S. Representative Bella Abzug from New York, Democrat from New York, Congress designated August 26th each year as Women's Equality Day. This day was selected to commemorate the passage of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution on August 26, 1920. There's your coffee talk of the day. The Baber's out there. She says, it's also National Dog Day. Is it National Dog Day? National Dog Day. My breath. Matt saying my brat dog is right here. Wednesday, August 20th. Yep, National Dog Day, celebrating dogs. NationalDogDay.com if you want to check that one out. Good one, good call. I didn't, didn't know it was National Dog Day. My old site that gives me the history or the holiday of the day failed me on that one, so the Baber took care of that. They're unveiling a women's statue in Central Park this morning too. And Alex is saying, and that's the truth, every day is National Dog Day. Don't comment on the cyber because you do too know a bunch of stuff about cyber. So that's where we're at. That's your rundown of the day. I know we talked about a lot today. Alex, we're on the hook to get some stuff together. We're going to have a planning session. I'll get my big paper calendar out, then convert it to digital later. Lots of stuff going down. Paul, good to see you. I know you've had a lot going on this morning, a lot going on this week. Halfway through the week, what are you guys going to do with this week? What are you going to do to make a difference this week? That's what I challenge. Go out there and make a difference. The lovely D is saying she doesn't know cyber. We keep teaching her, right? She can learn a little bit more about cyber every day. Before you know it, she's going to be a cyber guru like you guys are. You got a lot to do today. You got to go out there, take care of your friends. You got to take care of your family. You got to take care of your coworkers. Got to take care of your organization. You got to do the right thing. We take care of each other because that's what we do. We support the security mission going forward. We take care of our organization in that way. Alex is reminding us, October 19th, the RMF Advanced class. Coming around the corner. We'll be here before you know it. I didn't see any of the Bravos here. They're going to tell you, go out and get some today. Say, take care of each other. Tomorrow morning is yet another morning. Tomorrow is also Cyber Trivia Night. So 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Going to be there for that. Tomorrow morning, 7:30, we'll be here talking about the cyber news of the day. Of course, I believe in everyone. We all can do this. Tools, demos, and capstones. Yes, sir. It's going to be in-depth. It's going to be inclusive. It's going to be immersive. It's going to be all those buzzwords. We're going to make it happen, Alex. Yeah. FedRAMP, RMF. We're going to do some scanning. We're going to show how to implement controls, how to assess controls, how to use the tools that are out there. None of the classes I've ever seen have actually went into using the tools. So there are tools. I think we'll find a GRC, a governance, regulatory, and compliance tool. I know there's one we can find out there. It's going to partner with us, and we'll even set up a GRC. Let's do it all. We're going to have to figure out how long this class is going to be. It might be a year and a half long by the time we pack all this stuff into it, Alex. But if it is, it is. If it's a year and a half, then it's a year and a half. Man, you'll come out the other side with great information. So that's where we're at. That's where we're going. Go out there today and do great and wonderful things. And of course, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m., and then tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for your Cyber Trivia Night. Going to be great things. Going to see who takes the prize tomorrow. So Be good to each other, take care of each other, and we'll see you tomorrow.